So I wanted to show one of my clients who had some great responses and feedback from this past week to highlight components of training and program design that often get overlooked because we just focus a lot on what are we designing, how are we progressing it, what are the reps, the sets, time domains, and we forget that there's a human element that we have to consider to make really good decisions. So there's three big things that I want to show/talk about. So the first is the dynamic and ever-changing nature of designing training, because people think designing training is very rigid and controlled, and it's very chaotic and uncertain. The second is the importance of auto-regulation and ownership of one's training. So that's going to be very important here. And then third, the value of imperfect training. So making short-term concessions for long-term improvements. Imperfect meaning here that everything's not done exactly as it should be. There's things that are adjusted or sets are removed for the sake of the long-term improvement, as opposed to trying to maximize today, but there's going to be potentially a cost associated with that. So if this is obviously Thursday, I design this training on a Thursday. So on Thursdays, I go back, I look at the past week of training. So when I go back and I look, last Friday was good, no issues. Session on Saturday was good, no issues. I know he was traveling, so he was at a different gym during this time, but it looks like he got back on Monday, or sorry, he got back on Sunday. And so seeing his note, it was challenging today. He had to build a tough five, which the previous week he did 180 for two, and then he did a four for 165. If all things were great, maybe he would have done more. 160 was good considering the travel and didn't sleep that much. And then snatching felt a little heavier, so it didn't increase as much. And then down here, I wasn't ready for this kind of intensity, so he took the movements that I had written and he designed them in a way that allowed him to practice the movements, but not overdo it after coming back from traveling. And then he had a running session with different speeds, and he couldn't run the past few weeks when he was visiting family. So instead of doing the 10K, he did 5 with the varied pacing. Great. So he cut the volume back because he hadn't been running for a little bit. And then on Wednesday, jerk, okay, didn't feel great. And then this felt good. And then he did pretty well here. So as you can see, in a perfect world, everything would, of course, be done as I wrote it, would be done really well, but that's not reality. Reality is things come up, travel, changing countries, different, just all these little things that influence what they're going to be able to do, how much they're going to be able to do. And he understands that the goal is to keep training, to keep making progress, so he can keep enjoying it and looking forward to future competitions, qualifiers, things that he wants to do with his fitness. So what does he do? He makes adjustments based upon how he's feeling, what's going on right now, and realizes that it's not a sign that he's not making progress or that he's doing worse, but it's a sign of maturity that he's taking ownership of the training. He's auto-regulating. He's making adjustments based upon how he's feeling right now, given everything that's going on. That, of course, doesn't mean that you should be changing everything in the training every week, every session. Obviously, you'd want to keep a large percent of it the same based upon what the coach has outlined, but being okay with making little adjustments because you're going to have a really good understanding of how your body's feeling and what's going on. And you're going to be able to make better decisions and adjustments based on that. Because as a coach, especially a remote coach, I'm at a distance. I'm only seeing, of course, video, but I'm seeing notes and feedback, and it's delayed. It's after things have happened. So I have to lean on my client, my athlete, to make those calls to ensure that he is moving forward as best as possible. So it's important that clients and athletes understand that so that they can get the most out of their training and be okay, because of course the coach should make it known to them that it's okay if they have to make adjustments. The coach doesn't have all the answers. I don't know what the perfect plan is, but I'm going to help guide that person in that direction. So now for essentially the bulk of what I wanted to share is done, but I'm going to design the next week. So if you want to keep watching, then you can watch me design the next week. So based upon the results and feedback I got, there wasn't much that I needed to make big changes on because this split's going to go 2 more weeks. I wouldn't say revolving, but it's based on the progression I'm doing with the squatting. So the tough sets on Monday, back off sets are on Friday. So he's going to do 5 and he'll do 3 sets. And then he's doing technical or not technical into like heavier repetitions for the clean. This went well last week. So I'm going to keep that going, just a very small climb because we've been just getting back into some more volume of weightlifting. And then I'm going to keep this one the same. So if I go up to 95, be 70, 75, 80. So I'll go up 5. So I just literally increased it by 1 jump for each of them, which is fine. This is a very linear progression. So we'll do 3s, and for the sake of making sure he can get it all in, I'm only going to do 4 sets. If he had more time, I'd probably do 5 sets since the volume of work's going down. But I want to make sure he can get this in. And then this was probably like a short, gymnastic density piece. I don't know if he got it in. He might not have. Let's assume he did. Let's see, the week before he did, maybe he's missed the last 2. So if he did, then I'm going to leave this in here because maybe he didn't do it. And then this is like a work sort of design. It's just a lot of cyclical work to try to help because we need to improve that for him. So the first 2 weeks, I followed a pretty simple progression where I went like 21, 15, 9, kept everything the same. I'm just changing the cals per round. And then I went 10, 20, 30. And then last week I went ascending with one, fixed with the other, and then fixed, and then the flip flop. So then this week we're going to go bigger. So I'm going to go 100 cal echo bike, and then remaining time, row calories. And then we're going to go 50-50. And then we're going to do the same thing on the last one, but I'm going to flip it. So it's going to go row and then echo bike calories. And over here, big 5. So he's going to do a tough 3. Now, last week felt heavier than usual, so he didn't increase. So I'm going to keep this the same. I'm just going to keep them both the same. We're not going to change it. So that way he gets a better session in. And then for here, we're going to go 3-3, 2-2-2. And then we're going to go doing the same progressions in 3-3, 2-2-2. And then I'm going to bring down the rest period just because he might not need as much. So he got the volume in I wanted. And toes to bar muscle up, handstand walk. So let's do chest. I have chest to bar over here. GHD. 25 GHD. 5 things. For both short density pieces, inverted positions more challenging for him. So create some fatigue to challenge the handstand walk, but it's not a lot, which is fine because I don't need to make him too tired here, but just enough to practice. So last week he did 1K, so this week we'll go 1.5 just to build it up a little bit. And then over here, That's our prep piece. What do you say? The lockout wasn't strong, so we're going to do behind the neck, split jerk, pause in the catch. And then he said this went well, so we're not going to. We don't need more volume, but I want to increase the set size. And then this was 1-to-1 intervals. Yeah, minute. And he did a 10. So he pulled back the chest to bar volume, and then wall balls, push-ups. Push-ups were not very good, so we should probably do some more push-ups. So we're gonna go 3 sets, 2-minute clock. But there's 50. Do 20. Actually, I don't know if that's gonna be enough volume, but it's fine. We needed 5, so yeah, that's fine. Let's see. 50. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. So it's not a huge increase in volume, but the goal would be that he has better performance. So he's better capacity, feels like he's recovering better. That would be the intended takeaway there. So I'm not making it more difficult in the sense of dealing with more volume and fatigue, but I'm going after like better performance, just given how last week performance wasn't as great. There was probably some lingering fatigue from traveling and whatnot. So hopefully this week get a little bit more value out of it. And that's it. So there we go.